A very humbled Brad Holmes, Lions general manager, meets with the media on Thursday.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. Matt Dery with you. It is a Thursday edition of a Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Thursday, January 8th into Friday, January 9th. Great to be with you. Thanks for being with us. We've been here 10 years doing Locked On Lions, bringing you daily content, opinions, great guests every single day here on Locked On Lions. And today we're brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. News of the day, big story. Brad Holmes, Lions general manager, meets with the media. It was about a 40 to 45-minute session. Everybody got in their questions, including our man, Jeff Rieger from 97 The Ticket, an everyday listener. Jeff loves Locked On Lions. We love Jeff. He's been a longtime friend of mine, and Jeff did it. We said it. I need somebody to ask the question of Brad Holmes. Dan Campbell on Monday said he gave himself an F letter grade, a freaking F. What, Brad, do you give yourself? And Rieger stepped up and asked him that question. We'll discuss that coming up momentarily. What about the future of Kerby Joseph? What about the future of David Montgomery? We will address that on the program. Philosophy. Will Brad Holmes change the way he's done business the last couple of years, which has been very, very very paused, very deliberate. He's not really been aggressive. He even asked Bob Winowski today, Wojo, to define aggressive. We will talk about that. And yes, reports say the Lions will be interviewing Mike McDaniel, former Dolphins head coach, for their offensive coordinator opening. We'll get into all that today right here on Locked On Lions. Appreciate all of you being with us here on this Thursday edition. Again, if you missed Herman Moore from Tuesday, go back and listen to the show or watch the show. Of course, subscribe right here on our YouTube channel. All right, Brad Holmes, big day. And here's where I want to start. Here's what I want to say about the Lions general manager. This was a different Bradley Holmes today on the podium. The villain sweatshirt wasn't on. The smiles weren't there. The going back and forth with some media members and taking some pot shots at some media and some receipts talk was gone. This was a humbled and at times even jittery Brad Holmes, who I think showed, because I watched the entire thing on YouTube, the Lions YouTube channel. I watched the whole thing. It just happened. And I saw a guy that was humbled. Hey, look, I was reading the YouTube comments on the Lions YouTube during the whole thing, and there was this one guy that just kept saying Jared Goof over and over again. Jared Goof. Nonstop. But anyway, I saw a guy today that was taking his medicine. That was, and openly admitting he was not ready for the season to be over. And he wasn't really happy about having to talk to the media this early on in January. He wants to be playing. He wants his team to be playing. And Brad Holmes today basically said they weren't good enough this year. The team did fail. He used that word. And I think he was asked about team standards. He said, quote, bottom line is we're not in the dance and we're not competing for a championship. It's a failure. So it's a lot of things that we're going to have to take a long, hard look at. But before I look at anything, I'm looking at myself. I have to do a better job. End quote. Good for Brad Holmes. I liked his press conference today. Did we get all the answers? No. Do we have any idea about the future of certain players? If they're going to go replace Frank Ragnow? Is Ragnow back? There were all sorts of things that were still left unanswered because this organization was not prepared for this. I think they got cocky. I think there was a little bit of arrogance. And I think they're like, Brad Holmes openly admitted today, and he's very accountable, which I liked, and transparent. He couldn't answer a lot of questions because they weren't prepared to be in this position this early. I really think they thought, even a couple weeks ago, like, there's no way we're not going to get into this thing. So when he's asked about, are you going to draft a center? Or are you going to move Ratledge over? Or are you going to, what about free agency? What about this position? And, Justin Rogers asked about center, and he's like, I don't know yet. I don't know how we're going to address it. I wasn't prepared. Not that he wasn't prepared for the press conference. He was great. He was good today. He did a good job. But I don't think the Lions are, the one thing the Lions were prepared for was to fire their offensive coordinator. That they knew they had to do. But again, I almost said Jim Bob Cooter. Oh my God. John Morton was already nixed in week 7 or week 8 in Washington against Washington. He was pretty much already let go then. As I've used the term castrated before. He had his main duties taken away of play calling. So the Lions were prepared for that. But this organization got their heads got a little swelled. And this was a nice little reality check and comeuppance that, hey, we've got to do better. We've got to look at everything, and we're going to look at everything. So I liked that approach today from Holmes to have some humility, to be a little bit humbled. He was. I've watched plenty of his press conferences. I've heard him talk. This was a guy today that was like, geez, I don't even know what to say. He definitely sounded a little bit humbled. About offseason decisions, quote, nothing's going to change fundamentally or foundationally in terms of just the type of players that we're looking for and what our identity is built on. That's still going to remain the same, but you always have to evolve, man. You have to evolve. So how aggressive will they be in free agency? He didn't really answer that. But he did say they might be their approach might change a little bit this year than it has in years past. He said it. Dan Campbell and I have always have the philosophy of draft, develop, and re-sign our own. And they've done a really good job of that. Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, Jameer Gibbs hasn't been brought back yet. Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. These are all Brad drafted players that are going to be here for a long time. Kerby Joseph, if he's healthy. All of that. We'll get to that coming up. But Brad did not say they're going to just empty the bag in free agency and go crazy and go sign Linderbaum and go sign this guy and go get the. No, he did not say that. He said they still care about character, football character. They're not just going to go grab great players that do not fit. He said they're not going to do that. He said they want good players, but they also want the fit. On aggression in free agency and trades, Holmes, quote, I don't want to sit here and say that just more activity is going to be the answer. A lot of the changes and tweaks and adjustments that we will make probably won't come with a headline, end quote. But he didn't rule out making a big splash, but he did say, I'm not going to change my philosophy. With that being said, if the Ravens are not going to give Tyler Linderbaum the bag, the Lions must. They have to. It sounded like today in the press conference, Holmes did not, he said Frank Ragnow, they didn't really talk to him. Doesn't sound like Ragnow's coming back. So go get a center. Linderbaum now, his head coach is gone. Maybe his OC could be in Detroit. Todd Monken, maybe. But Brad still kind of kept to the company line on some of that. My man Rieger flat out asked him. Dan Campbell said on Monday, he gave himself a freaking F. What do you give yourself? Thank you, Jeff, for stepping up and asking the question I wanted asked. Holmes said, where is it? I've got the quote here. Whatever's a failure. Yes, give me an F. That's fair. Not trying to copy what Dan said, but it was either good enough or not good enough, and it's not good enough. So, it's either pass and we're still playing right now and still competing for a championship or not. And we're not, then fail. So that's where I put it, end quote. Brad Holmes also gives himself an F. And when Jeff pressed him about what the biggest failure was this year, he said not making the playoffs. He said being here right now where we're 9-8 and we're not playing anymore. It was a different Brad Holmes today. A lot of ums, a lot of uhs. I think he was absolutely prepared for some of the questions that were coming. But this was a guy that a year ago was a little bombastic at times to the media, talked about receipts, talked about did not like edge rusher questions. And today when asked about it, said, yeah, we got to replenish. He said, we got to replenish. He said, Muhammad gave him a great year, but he's a free agent. Davenport's a free agent. And he did mention replenishing the edge rusher room. I have a thought on David Montgomery. Did not sound very good when Brad Holmes was asked about David Montgomery today. We will get into that coming up next, right here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. And a Locked On Lions for today, brought to you by our friends at Rocket Money. And yes, it's one of those days where I decided, man, where is my Rocket Money graphic? And there, ladies and gentlemen, it is. Hey, let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. It's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. All right. I was shocked when Rocket Money showed me all the things that I'm paying for in terms of subscriptions. There's just things that I forgot about, completely forgot about. So it saves you money. All right. Love how it tracks all your subscriptions and lets you cancel them right in the app with just a few clicks. All right. No more hunting down customer service numbers. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. One more time, ROCKET money.com/lockedon. And today's broadcast also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Hey, we got wild card round and it's here. NFL playoffs officially kick off this weekend, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode every game day during the NFL playoffs. FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. All right. So each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts that you can apply to the bets that you like the most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. All right. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. Visit FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner in the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. All right, welcome back in, everybody. Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network. Matt Dery with you, and thanks for making Locked On Lions your first listen of the day, and thanks for making us Locked On, the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, please check out our Locked On Lions Everydayer Club. All right, you get access to an ad-free audio feed for the show, compatible with Spotify, Apple, and every other major podcast app. Plus, we got our invite-only Locked On Lions Everydayer Club Discord server. All right. We got a group chat on there. I'm on there talking to you guys. We chat about everything. Well, I'm sure I'll get on there tonight and talk about Brad Holmes and get everybody's thoughts on what he said today. So check it all out. Go to lockedonlions.supercast.com. That's lockedonlions.supercast.com, or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. All right. So the one thing, there's a lot of things that you can't take away from Brad Holmes' press conference, because like he said, he doesn't have answers yet. And they need to sit down and talk even more about where they're going with the roster and what they want to do with certain players. Toward the end of the press conference, I believe it was Rachel Hopmeyer from Big 62 CBS asked about David Montgomery. And it was a good question from Rachel, because Brad Holmes immediately was like, yeah, we love David, but if it doesn't work out here, it was like, wait, doesn't work out here. Like, he immediately went into the whole thing about how David deserves, I'm not saying more time, but it definitely sounded like a guy. I'm not saying that the Lions are moving on from David Montgomery, but it sounded like Montgomery has had the conversation with Holmes. And again, every player on the roster had an exit interview with Dan and Brad. And it sounds to me like David Montgomery's gone. We love the player. We want him here. But that was later in the game in the answer. Asking Brad, hey, do you think he'll be back? And him hemming and hawing at first, almost like, we love the player, but did we utilize his skill set enough? And does he deserve to get utilized? Does his utilization, it's almost like, do they feel like he could be utilized better elsewhere? Who knows? Montgomery may have told them, get me out of here. I love it here and you guys are great, but I'm not on the field. And it wasn't like right away Brad Holmes said, you know what? David Montgomery's not going anywhere. We love him. We love him. We love the 1-2 punch with Gibbs. That was not how he answered the question. It sounded more like, if it can be best utilized somewhere else, we'll take a look at that type of thing. And Kerby Joseph too. He was asked about Kerby Joseph's health, and he just said Kerby needs time to get well, and that he spent so much time during the season trying to get back on the field due to the knee injury that it didn't help the cause at all. But he did not answer the question at the end about, is this not life-threatening? Is this career-threatening? He did not. So there's question marks still surrounding Kerby and David Montgomery for sure. There was no guarantee, no answer of, Kerby Joseph, it's definitely not career-ending. That wasn't there. That was not really something that came up in terms of where he's going with that. The quote on Kerby Joseph, quote, I'm just glad that Kerby's in a spot now where he's not trying to urgently get healthy. He's going to have the necessary time to get the rehab and treatment that he needs to get as healthy as he can. End quote. The Montgomery quote from Brad Holmes, quote, he deserves to be in a situation where his skill set can be utilized. And so, yeah, we'd love it for it to be here. But if it can't be here, then you would have to just see which can work out the best for him. End quote. So there you have it. Sounded to me like David Montgomery probably told them, I want to be on the field. And you guys I don't think there's any animosity. I don't think that there's any anger. I just think it's reality. And we'll talk about Mike McDaniel coming up in a second here. But Mike McDaniel is the kind of guy that, yes, while he's utilized multiple backs in the past, both as an OC, a quarterback's coach, and a head coach with the Dolphins. Imagine a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs with Mike McDaniel, who loves utilizing running backs out of the backfield and speed backs and everything else. That would be interesting. One other thing on philosophy. Wojo did ask Holmes about being aggressive and kind of saying that, listen, Brad, in the past, you might not have been as aggressive because you weren't in need to be based on the success that you've had the last couple of years. Now that you haven't had success and you have failed, do you think you'll be more aggressive? And Holmes kind of was like, well, how do you define aggressive? And Wojo's like, moving up in the draft, making a big splash in free agency, making a trade. And Brad spent a lot of time today defending himself on one thing, and that is he kept talking about how media members and fans don't know how aggressive he might have been because they didn't see results, right? For example, at the trade deadline, they didn't pick up anybody. And we all said, how do the Lions not go get an edge rusher? How do they not do this? And Brad's point was, we might have tried and we might have been more aggressive than you guys know, and it just didn't work out. Maybe the other team didn't want to make that move. Maybe there was a player that they thought they wanted to go get, but they did enough research to find out, well, why would that team not want to have that player anymore? And they stayed away. Brad was saying we were aggressive. You just don't know it. It wasn't, and he wasn't being a jackhole about it at all. He was being, like I said, he was pretty guarded today, and he was pretty fair, and I thought pretty even keeled. But he did want to make a point a couple of times today talking about, hey, we did turn over every stone. We weren't not aggressive. It just did not happen and didn't play out. When they asked him, well, what about Frank Ragnow's retirement? When did you know? He's like, after the draft. We thought we did the best we could to fill that spot. I think as they look back on it now, I think some of this will change. I think they have to be aggressive in getting a center in here. The guy that snaps the ball first, the heart of the offense, the guy that's in the middle of everything. They've got to do better than what they had last year. And he did mention that Tate Ratledge might get a look and a move over because he's done it before in OTAs and all of that, mini camps and that type of thing. He did not rule that out. So we'll see. All right, coming up next, Mike McDaniel in the news with the Lions. We will explain coming up next. All right, but first, we want to tell you about our friends at Ultimate QB. Hey, guys, draft pick positions are set, and so many teams are looking for that franchise quarterback, whether it's the Jets, whether it's the Raiders, the Browns for the 500th time. Ever wish to become a pro quarterback getting drafted first overall by your Lions? Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you called Ultimate QB Football Legend. In this game, you step in the cleats of a number one draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. This is the number one QB career mode game on the mobile app stores, and it introduces the most realistic environment with full career control. Sign contracts, train and upgrade yourself, build chemistry, evolve your teammates, give input to your GM on roster moves, and play games and so much more. You'll deal with the ups and downs of a QB career, from rookie nerves to playoff drama, and every choice shapes your journey. Ultimate QB is totally free to play, has no ads, and works 100% offline. Perfect for when you want to sneak into a quick game or two on the go. Just head over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store. And we've got something special just for you guys. Use the promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, in the game store to get a free boost at the start of your career. Ultimate QB Football Legend, QB1, it's your legacy. I got to give a shout out to my buddy, Tara Thompson-Husak, legend, Troy Chamber of Commerce president. Great chat with her today. She loves her Lions. Was over at Firebird Tavern today in Troy. They are great people. Jenna, Tony, the whole crew over there, big man. Awesome day today for me to be over there and spend some time with some folks. Let's talk a little business. All right. Mike McDaniel being interviewed by the Lions. According to Ian Rappaport, this is the second name now that we've heard that the Lions will interview for their vacant offensive coordinator spot. I talked about it yesterday. There are a lot of names available. Todd Monken, Davis Webb, McDaniel, Brian Daboll. Here's the thing that I don't love about Mike McDaniel. Look, the Lions should interview Mike McDaniel. They should interview everybody. This job as offensive coordinator for Detroit is one of the top jobs out there, non-head coaching. If you're an OC candidate, why wouldn't you want to come to Detroit? You got the quarterback. You play indoors half your games. You got St. Brown. You got Gibbs. You got Laporta. You got J-Mo. There's a lot to work with here. I want to be the OC with Tampa? I mean, Tampa's not bad, but you know what I'm saying. I think this is a better job here. You want to be OC with the Raiders? So Mike McDaniel, according to Ian Rappaport, will get interviewed by the Lions, and something in my eye. I like that. Do I love McDaniel, the coach? I don't. I like him. I don't love him. I think I like Brian Daboll better. I just do. I think Daboll and Dan Campbell would mesh a little bit better. When the Dolphins came to town for the joint practices, all I heard from the people there, whispering to me, texting me, is how disorganized, how discombobulated the Dolphins were under McDaniel, and how it looked like he was running a country club. Now, he's not going to be the head coach. He's going to have to work with Dan Campbell. He's going to be the offensive coordinator, and he's going to call plays. I get that there's a difference there, but I remember the amount of people telling me what a joke the Dolphins were here for 2 days. And maybe he gets humbled because he got fired yesterday as the head coach in Miami. He is a very good offensive mind. When he was with the Niners and other places, he was excellent in calling plays. But this is not my first choice. But do I think the Lions should talk to him? Yes, they should talk to everybody. They should. No stone should be unturned here. Like I said, Monken I like from the Ravens. Daboll I like from the Giants. Davis Webb is interesting, the Broncos quarterbacks coach, because so many people want to talk to him. McDaniel, yes, talk to him. Absolutely. See if it's a fit. I like it. I don't love it. That's just me. And I get it too. Daboll had his moments with the Giants. Mike Kafka is another one I would talk to. I really like Kafka. I loved the game plan he put together against the Lions earlier this year that nearly won the game with all those scrubs out there, including Jameis Winston. But I think they should interview everybody. And I know that we talked about it yesterday. David Blau, the former Lions backup quarterback and current Commanders quarterbacks coach, was the first that they interviewed. Lions can't just bring in all their old buddies. They can't. Go get the best guy. Interview them all and figure out who the best one is. That to me is the most important thing. All right, we are back tomorrow again with a Friday edition of Locked On Lions. We'll talk more about what Brad Holmes had to say today. And love to hear your reaction. You want to leave us a voicemail on SpeakPipe for our call of the day? Let's do a call of the day tomorrow. I want your thoughts on Brad Holmes. Leave us a voicemail, speakpipe.com/Dery, Dery podcast page, speakpipe.com/Dery podcast page. Let's do it, and we'll play a call of the day tomorrow.